Wonderful. So we are going to be talking about bridging the gap between your users and your brand online. So let's get to it. Let me just click on this real quick. If you don't know me, my name is Arik Shujak. I am the co-founder and chief creative officer at Sekalovia. So we are a creative and technology agency helping mainly femtech D2C and women-led companies craft a brand that really delights their customers. So beyond all those pretty design and deliver no-brainer UX and getting them the clarity they need for their business to thrive online. A lot of the time, what we primarily do is to really help these companies and brand leveraging the web platform that they have so that they can turn that into a platform that can unlock business opportunities for them. Okay. I was hoping that we were able to do this, but hey, since we do have a couple of people, I wanted to ask you real quick, Selena, what brings you here, right? Is there a specific thing that you're looking to learn? And I think because you're the only one here, we can certainly customize some of the question and answers for you. So you get the full benefit from attending today. So tell me a bit more, like why you're attending this, what are you hoping to gain from it? Maybe share a little bit about who you are as well. And you can pick one card from one of these and we can answer together with you.
Wonderful. Thank you for the introduction. I joined because I wanted to learn from you what you have to share and see how I can best utilize that in my day-to-day work. I'm also currently working on starting my own startup in the fem ed world, I guess. So I'm trying to help especially teenage girls learn more about their body, but it's still in very early stages. So I would just like to kind of hear from you, like what to look out for, especially community building online right now, such a huge part. And I would just love to get some more insights from you. So nothing too concrete, sorry about that, but
no worries.
Very curious to learn from you.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. You want to pick a card or should I pick a card?
Feel free to pick the card.
Okay. This is my favorite. Would you rather give up your smartphone or your computer?
I was looking at this one as well.
That's really, really tough, especially because I couldn't use my laptop this entire week. I would have said my smartphone before, but after this week, it was actually really tricky to work without my computer. So I think I will actually say I would rather give up my smartphone than my computer.
Smart choice. I would do the same thing. How about you, Anna?
Computer. I'm really dependent on my smartphone.
Yeah. You're glued to your smartphone. Okay. Yeah. Hey, no judgment. Everybody has their own preferences, right? Okay. Thank you so much for getting a little bit social with me on this. Now let's get moving. We honestly feel oftentimes super confident, right? When we buy specific things, whether it's like a product or services, despite having to pay premium service for them. Remember when you recently maybe shop or something, right? Think about it. It was like, why are you so confident in hitting that buy button? It's like, what makes you feel that I truly need this? This fits my need. And even though the price would maybe have quite a price tag, like a higher price tag on it, you just go on and just insert your credit card number and just pay for that. Why is that? And I really feel that when it comes to our own business, however, though, we tend to not have a complete picture for helping our own customers to feel that confidence, right, in purchasing either our product or even services. So what is it that we potentially have missed? Maybe something went wrong, but why though? And a lot of the time when I see all of these problems, we ended up coming to this very basic foundational thing, right? The root of the problem really is that we did not pay close attention to the user-centric experience we're delivering to our own audience, to our own customers. Now, a lot of the time, this means for our own business, being chosen over another brand or losing the sale. We're trying to really close that now and really gaining their confidence so that we can get that sale from them, that trust from them, and hoping that they will come back and also become, the person that will be or advocate for the brand. Now, I would love to share this because I think, well, Anna already gave away my secret, right? The user journey. That is it, in my opinion. That has been a truly a savior piece of tool that we have been able to leverage for our customers or even our own clients with their customers to really kind of close the gap between understanding like what their user need, what they're offering, and how can we really facilitate that conversation and give them the confidence they need in order for them to have the conversion on their website. Now, if you have not heard about user journey, a user journey is a very simple user map or a visual trip that oftentimes the user would see or experience across a certain solution, right? For example, if you are currently trying to think about how can I get people to sign up more for my email newsletter, right? How can you create a specific user journey so that at the end of the day, people who come to your website or maybe find out about you online will end up going and signed up into your newsletter. So you will create in terms of like some of the opportunities, the channels, the different touch point where they could be at, what kind of information that they will need to get from you at a certain stage, right? Before they hit that subscribe button. Like, how are we going to envision their life either being intrigued by what you're offering and then feel like this is for me, and then finally hitting that button to join your email newsletter. So that's a quick example. Now, I would also say the user journey considers not only the step that a user takes, but also what we need to really understand is that their feelings, right? What are some of the specific pain points that they're currently experiencing that we want to target? And we also want to provide to them. It's like, hey, I get that you're feeling this right now. Maybe this is what you have in your current, life stages, right? And offering certain solution that they could feel like, I never thought about that. And yes, this is something that I've experienced. I finally see, the light at the end of the tunnel, or maybe like finally feel like I finally find the answer. That's something that we really truly want to deliver to them and offer some moments of delights for them and feel the connection between themselves and the brand. And having that click moment when they realize, I finally find a brand who understands me. So it's almost like a visualization of an individual relationship, right? Between them and us, whether we offer the product or services throughout and across different channels that we have and touch points. So I'm going to be getting into channels and touch points. In case you don't know what those are, I will be touching on some of those in details in a minute. Okay, so step one in really trying to bridging the gap between your audience online with your brand, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of you are already familiar with that creating user persona, right? Like the type of people that we're trying to target in general, their psychography and where they're currently living, how old they are, and all that different stuff. But I'd like to take them a bit deeper, right? To understand their life a bit deeper. Like, what do they actually do in their life? Like, what happened in their life? Like, and aside from understanding who are they, which you probably already know with your brand persona, where do they even live or hang out? Like, instead of just like thinking, yeah, they live in the suburb or they live in the city, but beyond that, do they hang out in certain places? Do they love to go to the library maybe, or maybe they love going to the mall, or they just love like hanging out in different restaurants, and maybe they're foodies, right? Who are these people? What is their life look like? And also I would like to dig deeper in terms of like, what's their behavior or even their thinking? Like, how do they gain information, right? Do they typically the type of person who just like rely on their friends to get some referrals or like some new information? Or are they the type of people who love just like go on Google every single time? I think there's always like a mix as well, right? Are they like a mix of both? So thinking about like how they would do certain things would definitely help you understand like how they make decision as well, because that is one of the big thing in terms of like having an understanding in terms of like, if you have a certain product or services, what would it take for them to make them feel that, yes, I'm ready to buy now? Do you need to maybe pull certain type of social proof? Maybe this person actually just love reading reviews. They don't care about all of those features that you got on, big magazines or on TVs and stuff like that. They just simply don't care. What if they truly just want to hear what other people are saying? And maybe on top of that, they want to see what is this product look like on real people, not just the model, right? So I think there's so many different things that factor in terms of like the decision that they need. Well, not the decision, but more so like, what do they really need to feel that confidence before making a decision to really invest in your brand or invest in your product and services? So that's that. I would also say, where are they in their life right now is very much important, right? Think about it. So Selena, you mentioned for like young girls is completely in different, stage of life compared to us, right? The way we're thinking for like kids and then work and then so many different other things, but for them, it's like, they're not even thinking about that. They're just like trying to understand who they are. It's like, what is their role in the world in terms of like being a teenagers and stuff like that. So I think there's so many different psychological things that happen in their life and the information that they need to know in order for them to also, fulfill a certain thing in their life right now. So that's that in terms of like knowing your audience. And pro tip that I have here, I would definitely don't recommend creating persona just for the sake of creating persona, right? I know sometimes you get like so limited with the time that we have, and it's like, yeah, let's just do this, it's quick and easy, it's like, let's just be done with the persona. But if you truly want to deliver the right type of experience for your people, right, and also building a community with your brand, you have to really understand what motivates them to buy and what really happening in their life right now, where you can come in as the only solution for them. So that's that. And the second part of this, in my opinion, is sometimes very easy to say, but harder to do, right? Aligning it with their needs. Like, sure, that's so easy to say, Ari, but how the heck do I do that? And I think this is where all of the information that you would typically gather from understanding the deeper level of your persona come in very handy. You're trying to really understand like some of the challenges that they have, and then the typical process that you would typically do for offering your services or products to them. But where is that alignment, right? Is this specific product going to happen to the very early stage of their life, or is your specific product and maybe later on services could tie into the later stage of their life, right? So I think understanding like where are they in the stage of their life right now could really be helpful for you, and not just to connect with that particular audience, but also people around them. Because oftentimes, if your product or services is not the right fit for them, they could potentially that this specific product or services you're offering could be the perfect fit for somebody else in their life. So trying to really connect that and just not ending the connection between you and this potential customer there, but maybe extending that beyond that person in their specific network or in their specific circle between friends and family as well, right? So do you have a lot more reach, understanding who they are, what their challenges, what their life look like, and who are the people around them that could also potentially get influenced by their decision, finding about your brand, finding about what you have offer to their people as well. Now, here are a couple of things that I would love for you to, do on your own, maybe in terms of like understanding how does your service or product solve your audience challenges and needs today. And if there are an alignment between their challenges and the needs with your with what you're offering right now, what are those, right? List them all, and then you can start seeing the areas where you can potentially find opportunities for you to either connect with them, or maybe through social media, maybe through like different avenue, like specific campaign and stuff like that. And then the last thing, the question that I would always recommend for you to think about as well is, where would they go before they find your services or your product, right? Perhaps before they find you, they need to go to a specific type of services, or maybe they need to find out about a specific product before they find out about you. So thinking about the process that they go through. Let's do an example for, let's just say something on Femtech, like I'm trying to do an example for I guess, any product from femtech. For example, it could be the cup, right? So pretend that one of your customers actually looking for a solution to find more of a sustainability product that could really help them with their period, right? I mean, there's just so many out there today. How would you set yourself apart? Like, where would they typically go? Perhaps they typically just like, okay, I'm just going to buy a pad. Never really thought about, other solutions beyond the pad. But when they talk to maybe with their friends and really sharing like, hey, I recently found out about X, Y, and Z. Have you tried this? So there's like this conversation already happening between them, and your brand was mentioned. So that's just like one way for them to really try to find out about who this service or this product really is, right? So maybe they do find all of those information through friends, through conversation, instead of through Instagram ad, for example, right? When they find out about that, then you now know how to really nurture those particular relationship with your current customers. So if a lot of your clients or your customers coming from word of mouth or referral that way through friends, then you know that you need to invest more in bridging the gap on creating some sort of like community or even like an ambassador program, right? Trying to get more people to talk more about your product. So there's so many different ways to do this, but I think by understanding a couple of the answers from question number 1 and question number 2, you'll be able to brainstorm a few different ideas, like how can we reach them? How do we get in front of them before they even find out about us? So that's step 2. Now, pro tip on this one, I would like for you to revisit your persona one more time, okay? Look at their behavior and their thinking. Are they the type of people who just shop because they see ad on FB or Instagram? I'm like that, by the way. So that's just, part of the people, right? I mean, other people maybe are not like me, or are they the type of people who are often influenced by their trusted circle? Again, we talked about this earlier. Maybe that's what they need in developing trust to purchase a certain brand, right? I know a couple of friends who are truly rely on someone's decisions or, experiences in purchasing certain products or even like services as well, because they just want to hear it from people that they trust, right? So when you hear something from people that you trust, you immediately just trust them. You don't even need to read on all of those reviews because you already trust your friends. Like, my friend's not going to tell me something bad, right? And even with your family too, if your family says like, this is the right brand for you to follow, you go buy this and it's going to make you feel better, then you just do it. No questions asked. So that's a couple of different ways to look at it. All right, so before we move on to the step 3, are we still on time or do we have any question?
I guess I do.
I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I'm still in.
Go ahead.
So I mean, there are a lot of different ways, right, to then also interact with the target audience to figure out these deeper needs. But is there some where you say, okay, for some questions, it is really good to dive deep to have interviews, or do you say everything can be done with a survey, or do you have any best practices or tips to really dive deep into these needs to find those out?
That's a good question. Sometimes if you ask a customer what they truly need, they might not tell you what exactly they need, right? Sometimes they didn't even know that they need it. So there are so many different ways to figure this out. And most of the time, it would depend on where are you in your stage of the business right now. For a company who are currently in their first 2 years, they already have some data that they could pull, and also even a customer base where they can do specific user interviews already, right? So that's one way to do it. For companies who have not really launched into the market and they don't have any base customers just yet, a lot of the time you'll rely on feedback and surveys. So just trying to understand what is it that they're doing. You're not trying to understand like what they need just yet. You're just trying to understand what what is not fulfilled in their life right now? What are their challenges, right? You don't ask your users like, what do you want? You just don't ask that, simply because your perception in terms of like hearing those answers could skewed in your own solution for them. So I would rather suggest like really understand like what are they experiencing right now, what stopped them from finding the answer, the solution, or whatnot, right? Maybe because it's just too expensive, or maybe because it's out of reach. Like, what are these things that we need to understand in order for us to provide the solution that they might not even think about it before? So that's that. And then also, in the future, I would also suggest, right, if you already have these like customer base and information, and you also want to dig deeper in a more fun way, you can always utilize quiz, right? Quiz for the brand. I think you probably have seen that a lot in so many different websites and brands. Like, hey, find out which type of person you are. It's like which type of solution will be the best for you. So if you do have a few different solutions for a few different types of persona, you could utilize this in a more fun way rather than just like sending out, a boring survey, right? So there's just so many different things to create delights for your user, depending on, what experience you as the brand would want to deliver to them. Does that help, Selena?
Yes, that does help.
Oh no, you're breaking up.
It was not focused or tell me what you want, but more like internal kind of things. So yeah, but thank you so much.
Wonderful. All right, Anna, did you have any question?
No. I was just going to say like, because Selena is obviously here, so we could help her maybe if she has some kind of idea or audience. So do kind of brainstorm if she feel like it. Yeah. And I'm not sure.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to the step number 3. So the step number 3 really is designing the experience, right? How can we now visualize their journey from the possible touch points? And the easiest way to design the customer experiences online would obviously using the user journey I mentioned earlier. Now, I mentioned earlier channels and touch points. What the heck are they? Channels are a way for you to understand where your customers come from and how they interact with you or the company. Touch points are more precise and more specific. So they typically are inside the channel itself. So for example, online channel, online could be a channel, right? And then online chat could be a touch point, or your website could be a channel, and your homepage or even a contact page could be a touch point, or even your, single item page as well could be a touch point as well. Now, how would you utilize some of these channels and touch points if they are not online? For example, if the user that you are trying to target oftentimes relies on smaller group discussions or even their inner circles and things like that, how would you create those experiences? You can still technically create those experiences, but it's going to be more in a way that you possibly cannot fully control, right? If it is your website, if it is your social media and everything, you have a lot of control over that. But when it's like beyond that, there's very little control that you can do. However, you can still design the experiences based on what you can deliver to these specific circles. So let's use an example of the person earlier that I mentioned, that she maybe only relies on their friends or their best friends to tell them a specific brand that they need to either follow or buy from, right? How would you influence that decision then? You could technically use a program like maybe an ambassador program, or even like, hey, refer your friend and you'll get a specific type of incentive. Maybe it's the next purchase will be free or a specific product and so on and so forth. So you can influence them that way. Therefore, if for them, it is a very much brand that already aligned to them, you're basically leveraging your user so that they can be your advocate, experiencing your brand and their experiences, and then expanding that to their own network. So you could technically influence them that way, right? So that's just like a few different areas where you can design the experiences, whether it's on something that you can fully control or something that you could have very little control over, but still able to influence these particular users that you have. Okay. So what do we really need to visualize on a user journey, right? A lot of people would ask me, okay, everything is good and all, but how the heck do I do it? Now, all you have to do is to honestly fill out this sheet. This is the very simplified version that I created. You can get this later. I can send you the link to download them. But here are the 3 things that you need to really look at: your user scenario, their goals, and expectation. Right? So you don't necessarily need to create only one user journey. You can create multiple journeys based on specific scenario that they would have, or maybe even a specific campaign that you would want to do or target. And the number 2, you'll need to include their emotion and responses to the experiences, either it's on your website or any other channels that you want to use. And then the 3rd one is the area of opportunities where you can address their pain point or their current challenges right now. So if you look at the example here, this one is about a campaign to sell fall or winter, coats collection by end of January 2021. Now the scenario is user will purchase the coats through the website. That's the scenario, right? That's the expectation from the brand. But the expectation from the user is a quick purchase within 5 minutes and fast shipping. So you'll need to understand like what are our goal, right? What would be the typical scenario for us as the brand? And then what would be the expectation from our user? Or do they really want just like a very quick solution, or do they want to really chat with somebody before they find out a solution? What are the expectations they want from us? And on the second second row, you have your quick version of your persona, right? Having a distilled information of your target audience in terms of like who are they in general, and then their challenges right now, some of the motivation for them to really buy this. Like, why do they even need this thing? Maybe they just got tired because all the coats that they have buying in the past, it was a cheap one, right? Maybe it was from fast fashion brand. And they just finally are ready to have something decent that can help them feel warm while they goes on, long walks with their family. What are these reasons? You need to understand that before you hit them with, well, maybe not hit, but maybe present them with the solution that you already have, right? And then typical action and behavior. What do they need to know before making that decision, right? Do they really want to see like, here's how people look with the code? So you'll try to avoid using pictures that only have the product. You need to put this product on different models. Maybe they have, bigger body size. You don't know who these people are in terms of body size just yet, right? But having to see like how this particular product going to look like on a person, it really influenced their decision to see like, oh, that could look good on me. Right? Don't we all feel that way whenever we shop for certain type of clothes? I mean, I do. I don't know about you ladies, but every single time I do, it's like, okay, now that I see the model pictures, I want to see what everybody else picture looks like, right? Like when they actually get the clothing, I want to see real people pictures. So if they don't have that, I was like, I'm not sure. Do I need to buy this? Do I not? Maybe not. But if I see a lot more people are posting like, here's how it looks on me, it looks really good, just like on the listings, so it gives me more confidence. Like, yeah, I think I can try this, and I can see that could look good on me as well. So there's just so many different things that sometimes going on in our own head as a user, and we need to also think about it and take that into an account when we try to present solutions that we have for our own users. Okay, and then the last row that we have here is all about their needs and their interests, right? At what point do they really start the journey? What are the paths that they want to experience, and some of the opportunities that maybe we have identified. And the last part would be, what is their end point? Typically, the end point is their final call to action we want them to take, right? So maybe the end point here that they get the order confirmation immediately right after their purchase. So maybe that is something truly important for them, that they have spent quite an amount on this particular coat. Maybe it's one of those coats that, cost $500 to buy. And that is a certain investment for some of us, right? $500 for a coat, it better be a damn coat, a good damn coat. And I get like a good experiences after buying it. So feeling that they get also taken care of, like, hey, we got your order. He's like the information, expect X, Y, and Z, shipping, timeline and everything. It feels that they're going to have that confidence, like I made a good decision by purchasing this. I feel taken care of. So that is the example for the user journey map. And pro tip here, I feel like I already said all of these, but where can you really connect with your audience to stay on top of their mind, right? I think thinking about that, and when you ask your users, whether it's through the survey, the quiz, or like truly doing interview with them, just really ask them, like, where do you typically find information? It's like, where do you like to hang out? What do you do the first thing when you wake up, right? And what really delight your days? Like, what is it that really important in their life that you feel could be an influence for you to create this user journey, right? To deliver that experiences for them. Okay, so Anna asked me to kind of share a couple of different like examples, whether they're bad or good and everything. So I have a couple that I would love to share. And this website, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. It's I believe it's an app that basically track your period and pill, I believe as well, your period pills and stuff, right? Or no, pregnancy pill. One of them. You guys gonna have to check it out. It's avia.com. I only found out about this yesterday. A good friend of mine, Pick, she shared it with me, and I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, it's cool. It's a very hip type of style because I believe their target audience are, younger women. But as I scroll down, I was like honestly feeling super overwhelmed because I caught this banner and it was just like keep rotating. I was like, oh man, this is a lot of information. I don't even know what they want me to do because everything else just seemed to be, I felt like I'm being bombarded by so much information, right? So that would be the one thing that I would highly recommend for you to avoid on your website. If you feel that something can be added on your website and it's a cool factor and stuff like that, ask yourself, do you really need it, right? If you really do want something that is going to look like this, like a, continuing text banner like this, just use one. And if you do plan to use anything that is moving on your website, whether it's an animation or even like, a video that is maybe autoplay, try only adding just one, right? Because you don't want to overwhelm your user because they're going to feel that you're frustrating them and they feel like, I don't know what to do. And you don't want your user to feel like they don't know what to do. You want to guide them so that they can finally hit the button or, take that action you want them to take. Okay, so that's one. Here's a good example though. If you do plan to use something like that rotating, text and animation, use it as an accent, right? Like something just like be there in the background, something that is very nice to see, not something that's like super glaring at you and you feel like, gosh, it's in my face. So instead of doing all of those, you need to guide them through the story that has a nice pace so that the user can follow them and give them the time they need to process all the information that you potentially want to share to them that they need to know before they make that decision to purchase or, finding solution that they feel that this has impacted their life. Okay. Another bad UX example, in my opinion, is this one. At first, you probably don't realize that what's wrong with this, or this looks like an amazing website, right? It is, definitely is. But here are a few different things that is wrong with this site. They're using way too many sliders. If you can count, there's like 1, 2, and 3. And when you land on their website, Kindbody, there are 3 slideshow on their hero. So hero is basically the top section of your page. And on every single slide on their hero, there are at least 2 call to action. And in total, for 3 slides, I think there are like 7 call to action in total. And that's a lot of call to action, right? When you go to a website and the website asks you to do so many different things, do you know what you need to do? Probably not, right? It's like, I know when I saw it, I was like, okay, there's so many different options. Which one which one is clicking to me. And that was really hard for me to understand at first, because I think their intention was to try to split some of the different types of people that come to their website. I think one of them is, the actual employee, and then the other part is the employer. But the easiest solution that they could have done is to have just one slide, or maybe not using any slide at all, right? Just to have one big image, and then explain, hey, if you are a employer, go here. If you're an employee, go here, and have a separate, pages responding to each of those persona, and give them the information they need to move forward. So that's that. And the second part that I noticed is their section over here is the stories from their previous patient, right? The previous patient that they have for the fertility and gynecology that they're offering to bigger brands or bigger companies for their woman employee, they have a ton of these amazing things. And it's a good thing that you have testimonials or stories from your customers, because that could influence people's decision before going with you or going with another brand. However, though, the way they treat that particular experience here is rather frustrating, because some of these content has way more text than the others. And you'll see some of the testimonials they have actually got, cut off. And that's not delivering a good brand experience for your users. Instead of this approach, I think they could have done, a better way to separate each of these. So there's actually a good website that I would recommend for you guys to look at it. It's called ritual.com. Are you familiar with this brand? Maybe not, right? But the section I want to showcase is this section, right? Notice how they include the people picture, 3 at a time. You can clearly see that there are more people have experience with this brand, right? But you highlight one at a time. So this approach, compared to what they have here as a slider, this feels a lot more approachable, don't you think, right? Don't you agree with me? So that would be one thing. If you really must use a slider on your website, right? Use it in a smart way. Use it in a way that people will feel it's easy to follow, instead of asking them to do too much work, like the slides. This could potentially slide on its own as well, right? So the user don't need to click on their own. Perhaps each of this slide maybe rotates every, 15 seconds, depending on how big the content or sections they have for highlighting certain experiences from their past clients or past customers. So that's one. And the other example that I have here is mainly towards less is more, right? Sometimes when you have so much info to share, you need to trim them down, and making sure that you have these 5 big items to showcase in either your landing page or even on your homepage, maybe sales page as well. So the 5 things that I would recommend for you to always include are: what is it, right? Why does this matter? How does it work? Will this fit the user's need or solve their problem? And how can they buy, download, sign up, whatever else you want them to do at the end of the day? How can they move forward to do that? If that's not clear for them, it doesn't matter if you have all of this, because then you're not guiding them towards an action and make that conversion for yourself. Okay, so that's the example on this one. Here's the last example for the bad UX for you. I can imagine every single one of us have been featured in at least something, right? We have social proof, right? However, oftentimes I feel so sad when a lot of us are using the last section in your website to spotlight this amazing thing that you have. So instead of having to put all of these good things that you have, your social proof, and the featured on big medias and things like that, I would honestly recommend don't hide them, right? Don't hide them near the bottom of your website. People could miss it. They probably won't see them if they don't even go towards the end of your page. So instead of doing that, I would recommend for you to do the same thing that Dame is doing. So Dame actually utilized the above the fold section right below the hero to spotlight those great things that they have. Most innovative wellness companies, right? On Fast Company, that's a big win. And then over 4,000 5-star reviews. That's even better. So you're trying to really pull up some of the things that could influence your user to feel like, wow, this brand, even though I've never heard of them, they've done great things. They've been experienced by so many different people and all have great experiences. I want to be one of them. So honestly, that's all I have. The last thing that I would say though, if you are planning on different channels, here are a couple of different maybe opportunities that you could potentially leverage. Your website, right? You have that. You could play around with your homepage, sales funnel, your contact page, even your web chat window, or even to your content pop up as well. So there's just so many different areas of opportunities that you could leverage on your own website. And on social media, you obviously can do so many things as well. Like I feel Instagram and LinkedIn has just been pushing so many different types of content that you can also, experiment and to see which one speak the most to your users. So, leverage carousel, leverage your posts, your stories, doing the lives, or even like planning a campaign and ad for these channels as well. And then the last thing, search engine. You need to be found somehow. How can you do that? So you can share articles, YouTube videos, case studies, more reviews, or even press and media mention that you can have and share that to your audience. And I think that's all I have. This is the worksheet. I can give the link to you a bit later so you can download it. And that's it. I don't have anything else. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to stop my screen share right now, and then we can open it up for discussion. Any questions?